Before I get to the top 10, let's go over some honorable mentions. Starting off with the Cubs, they're 43 and 49 as of right now. They're 4.5 back in the wild card race. They're not necessarily out of it by any means, but if they fall back further in the standings the next couple of weeks, I could definitely see them selling off some pieces. The main one being Cody Bellinger. That's a guy who can go help out another lineup somewhere. He's not putting up the same numbers that he was last year, but still having a pretty decent season overall. You got someone like Kyle Hendricks, who's in the last year of his deal. That could provide some depth for a rotation out there. Maybe even someone like Nico Horner. You got guys like Matt Shaw, James Triantos down in the minor leagues. So maybe someone like Nico Horner could be expendable. And then we got a team like the Texas Rangers, where they've been playing better as of late, but they're still further back in the standings here. Right now they're 7 out, but they got a couple of guys coming back from injury soon. One of them being Jacob deGrom. So maybe the Rangers go after it, but if they sell off, then you got a lot of pieces you could deal here. Max Scherzer, could you deal him again? This guy's been moved a lot over the last few years. Maybe Kirby Yates here. He's having a great year. Guys like Michael Lorenzen. Another team would be the New York Mets. I know they're right there for a wild card spot right now. They just made a trade recently, getting Phil Maton for the bullpen. So, maybe the Mets end up standing pat, maybe adding, but let's say they lose a few games here. They fall a bit further back. They have a lot of pieces they could move. A ton of guys with 1 year remaining. Jose Quintana, Luis Severino. He's having a great year. Someone like Harrison Bader, JD Martinez is a bat. If they were to sell, there's a lot of options. And focusing on some individual guys, you got someone like Tyler Anderson having quite the bounce back year. ERA at a 2.81. FIP is higher at a 4.53, but a veteran guy that can give you some innings at the back end of the rotation. I'd like to see him get moved. There is one thing to consider with him, though. He has 1 more year left on that contract, so I wonder if that comes into play. We'll just have to wait and see. You got Cal Quantrill on the Rockies having a decent year. ERA at a 4.13. FIP is also higher at a 4.77, but same thing with Anderson, a guy that can give you some innings at the back end of the rotation. Tanner Scott is absolutely someone you have to think about. Got off to a bit of a bumpy start this year, but he's been a lot better since then. ERA at a 1.42, FIP at a 3.46. The walks are a bit up this year, but he's still striking out some guys, has good stuff, good velocity. He could definitely help out a team, whether or not he's their closer or as a setup guy. Carlos Estevez is having quite a year. ERA at a 2.89, has 16 saves so far. So yeah, I think he could definitely help out a team out there. Someone like Lucas Erceg on the A's could definitely help out in a setup role. Michael Kopech is an interesting case where, yeah, guy has great velocity, great stuff, but the numbers look terrible so far this year. Maybe a team, can get him back on the right track. If you can, he could definitely be a weapon considering the stuff that he has. You got some veteran bats here. Someone like Taylor Ward. The numbers don't look amazing. He's hitting 238, on base at a 321, slugging at a 417, but he's hitting lefties really well, hitting 354 against lefties. Paul DeJong, he's having quite a year here, 16 home runs while playing some good defense at shortstop. So yeah, I could definitely see some teams interested in him. Tommy Pham seems like he's moved every single year at the deadline, but hey, look what he did for the Diamondbacks last year. Really helped them out down the stretch and in the World Series. And when it comes to Vlad and Bo Bichette, I'm just going to include them as honorable mentions right now because I'm 50-50 on whether or not I think they get moved. When it comes to Vlad, yeah, he is putting up some great numbers, hitting 291, a 368 on base, a 454 slugging, 13 home runs, along with a 135 WRC plus. I would think the Blue Jays would ask for a lot, and I don't know if teams are going to be willing to give up how much the Blue Jays would want for him, considering he is just a first baseman, and he only has 1 more year of control after this. So I wonder if teams would meet the Blue Jays' demands for him. And when it comes to Bo Bichette, he's the opposite, where he plays a high-value position at shortstop, but he's not putting up great numbers this year. He's only hitting 222 with a 70 WRC plus, the first down year of his career. So maybe teams could be willing, to give up the pieces for someone like Vlad. Maybe they would be willing to go for Bo Bichette, but I don't know. I just wonder if teams are going to meet the Blue Jays in the middle. You got someone like Justin Turner. He's a guy, hey, 347 on base so far this year. The slugging is pretty low, but a guy, a veteran bat that can definitely help you out. Josh Bell, not amazing numbers so far this year, but a veteran bat with some pop. Someone like Jesse Winker. This is a guy, he's having a renaissance of a year, hitting 267, a 381 on base, a 434 slugging. Honestly, I think you can make the case to put him in the top 10 on this list. He's having himself a really good year. I could definitely see him getting moved, considering he's only on a 1-year deal and he's only making $2 million. Those are my honorable mentions. Let's get to the top 10. Starting off my list at number 10, I have Luis Rengifo. Rengifo is one of the more underrated players on this list, in my opinion. He's a pretty solid bat and gives you versatility as well. So far this year, having himself a solid year, hitting 315, a 358 on base, a 442 on the slugging, has 6 home runs as well, a 126 WRC+. But like I said, he has versatility. He can move around in the infield. He's played a lot at third this year, a lot at second, even a couple of games at short, even one game out in the outfield. So I think Rengifo could be a valuable piece for a team that's in need of some versatility in the infield, especially a contender that could use some more depth out there. And I think he could give some teams a lift. I think even my Red Sox could be a good fit for him. They haven't gotten much production out of second base this year. Who knows what's going to happen with Vaughn Grissom this year, but maybe Rengifo can come in here and he doesn't necessarily have to just play second. He can move around to some other positions as well. And I bring up the Yankees again, but Gleyber Torres has not had a good year this year, so if they wanted to add another bat, someone like Rengifo I think could help. When it comes to how much it would cost to trade for Rengifo, as of right now on baseballtradevalues.com, they list the median value at $12.9 million. You got to remember he has one more year of control after this season, so that's going to make his value a little bit higher as well, and you're not really having to pay him all that much. So he's going to cost you a little something. You're probably going to have to give up at least a decent prospect, maybe a couple, but I think for Rengifo, he'll definitely help out a team in the second half. At number 9, I have Yusei Kikuchi. Kikuchi's been pretty steady over the last couple of years, and with how bad the Blue Jays have been playing this year, I definitely see them parting with him, and he's having a good season so far. 19 starts, ERA at a 4, FIP is a little lower at 3.59, and when it comes to the strikeout to walk ratio, he ranks 11th overall in Major League Baseball, so he'll be a nice piece to add to the middle or the back end of a rotation, and he's not going to cost all that much. He's in the last year of a 3-year contract. As of right now, the median value is at $5.5 million. I could see that going a little bit higher with how competitive the market gets for starting pitching, and I think a great fit would be the Cleveland Guardians. Now remember, Logan Allen just got sent back down to the minor leagues, has not been having a good season so far, so maybe they could pick up a veteran lefty to replace him in the rotation. I mean, this rotation, they've been kind of just getting by this year. No Shane Bieber this year. The bullpen has been tremendous. They've really leaned on that bullpen, but I think Kikuchi would be a nice veteran guy to add to this rotation for the second half. The Guardians, I think they could be a strong team in the playoffs. I think they need to beef up this rotation a little bit, though. At number 8, I have Zach Eflin. It didn't feel like long ago when it seemed like Zach Eflin was always getting hurt, but he's been really durable over the last couple of years, and once again, having a solid season with the Rays. As of right now, has an ERA at a 4.19, FIP is lower at a 3.77, but what's great about Eflin this year is he's not walking anyone. He's actually first in walks per 9 with a 0.78. That is just tremendous. That's even lower than George Kirby, my goodness. But Zach Eflin, I think, would be a great veteran piece to add for any rotation out there. Now, when it comes to Eflin, he's going to cost more than someone like Yusei Kikuchi. As of right now, he has a median value of $16.3 million. He has one more year of control after this, and he's not too expensive. I think Zach Eflin is a guy that's going to take at least a couple of pieces, maybe even 3, to acquire him. So when it comes to Eflin, I think there are a few teams that I like the most for him. The first would be the Houston Astros. They've completely turned around their season. Thankfully, their starting pitching got it together, but one thing their starting pitching could use a boost in is walks, keeping the walks down. They're actually dead last in walks per 9 this year. I think they could use a boost there. I think Eflin would be a really nice veteran piece, and they would have him for next year as well. Another team, I just mentioned the Cleveland Guardians, of course. I think they should go after any starting pitching that they can acquire. And remember, the Rays and the Guardians made a trade last year, Kyle Manzardo and Aaron Savali, so they have that relationship there, so maybe they can come back together for a deal. He has been connected with the Braves this year. They came up in rumors earlier in the season for him. Maybe they want to add another veteran guy, really boost their chances for the postseason. We'll see. Another team that I think could make some sense for Eflin are the Red Sox. They had a good start to the year with the rotation, but they've been taking their bumps lately. I think Eflin could be a pretty nice veteran upgrade for this rotation, and you would have him for next year. Would the Rays trade him in division? Not so sure, but I think he would be a great fit here. One other team, I think the Dodgers. They've been having a lot of injuries as of late. Walker Buehler, Yamamoto, Glasnow just just very recently. Maybe adding Eflin could help out, with some insurance there. You never know what's going to happen with the durability. And it's not just the injuries of the Dodgers. Bobby Miller has also really struggled this year and just got sent back down to the minor leagues. So that could be another reason for the Dodgers to go after someone. At number 7, I have Eric Fedde. How about Eric Fedde this year? Came back over from the KBO this past offseason, and he's having himself a pretty good year. 18 starts, ERA at a 3.13, FIP at a 3.59, right around 8 strikeouts per 9, 2.5 walks per 9, under a home run per 9. This is a guy that can definitely give you some good innings in the middle or the back end of the rotation. And one thing about Eric Fedde, he gets a good amount of ground balls. As of right now, he ranks 16th overall in ground ball percentage in the major leagues. And to me, I think the perfect fit would be the Milwaukee Brewers. They just added Aaron Savali recently, but this is a team that has a good infield defense. As of right now, when it comes to outs above average, they rank 4th overall when it comes to the infield. So yeah, I think this is a perfect fit overall. It is going to cost a little something because, again, he is having a good year, but he also has one more year of control after this year. So as of right now, the median value is around $20 million. We'll see, if it ends up getting to that point, maybe it's a little low or maybe a little higher because of the track record. That is one thing to consider. But I think Fedde, he's going to be a hot commodity at the deadline. Up next, I have Jazz Chisholm, and it looks like we're finally on our way to getting a full season of good health from Jazz Chisholm. And so far this year, he's been pretty productive, hitting .258 with a 328 on base, a 417 slugging, a 108 WRC plus, 11 homers. He's going to give you some pop and some speed, so he could definitely help out a lineup out there, especially a team that could use more production out in center field. Now, when it comes to Jazz Chisholm, he is going to be pretty expensive. As you can see here on baseballtradevalues.com, you see a median value of around $40 million. Why is that? Well, Jazz Chisholm, first off, he's not making a whole lot of money. He's only making $2.63 million this year. Combine that with the fact that you have 2 more years of control with Jazz Chisholm after the season. He's only 26 years old, and again, he's been productive this year. Sure, he's had a poor track record of health, but he's showing you this year that he is healthy. So it's going to cost you a little something to acquire Jazz. I got a few teams that I think could make a lot of sense, and they all happen to be in the National League Central. I'm looking at center field production here. I see the Reds at number 28. I see the Cardinals at 29, and I see the Pirates at 30. Now, I think either of these teams could make a lot of sense. Now, the Reds aren't completely out of the wild card race as of right now, but I could see a situation where, remember, they traded for Trevor Bauer back in 2019. They were kind of out of it when they traded for him, but they were hoping, to have a better team that next year in 2020. And I could see a situation like that where even if the Reds fall out of it, you could still have him for the next couple of years. Same thing with the Pirates. They've been getting some great pitching this year, but they could use a boost in this lineup. I think Jazz could be a pretty decent piece if they were willing to give up some prospects. And I think the Cardinals could be really interesting. They've been rolling with Michael Ciani out in center field, but maybe one more piece here can get the Cardinals, to that next level. They got a wild card spot as of right now. I think Jazz could be a pretty good fit in St. Louis, and I think he could be a good fit for all 3 of these teams. At number 5, I have Jack Flaherty. How about Jack Flaherty having one of his best seasons so far through 15 starts, has an ERA at 3.24, FIP at a 3.06, already has a 2.1 Fangraph wins above replacement, really good strikeout to walk ratio, 11.6 strikeouts per 9, and 1.4 walks per 9. That's a fantastic ratio, but the one problem with Flaherty this year are the home runs allowed. If we take a look at the home run to fly ball ratios, he ranks 2nd overall, so he's having a bit of a problem keeping the ball in the yard this year, but I got an easy fix for that. How about put him somewhere where they got a pretty spacious park, and that is Petco Park. The Padres have the 3rd lowest park factor this year. I think that would be a great fit for Jack Flaherty. He's a California guy, and the Padres have been rumored to be wanting some starting pitching. I think that would be a great fit overall. Add him for that rotation for the second half. They have a wild card spot as we speak, so hey, nothing wrong with beefing up the rotation there. I think he would be a great addition. And as for his trade trade value as of right now, it's at around $10 million, but you know, the Padres, AJ Preller, they're always aggressive. They could definitely get a deal like this done, especially if it's only going to cost you maybe a piece or two. Up next, I have Brent Rooker. Remember last year when Rooker had that hot start, but then pitchers adjusted to him and then he cooled off? But this year, he's back to doing just that, having himself a great year, hitting 282 with a 360 on base, a 542 slugging, 18 home runs, a 156 WRC plus. Mostly he's been at DH this year, but has seen a little bit of time out in left field, even a little bit in right. With Rooker, he is definitely going to be a bat that can help out a lineup out there. I think the perfect fit would be the Kansas City Royals. I mean, they're right there in that wild card hunt. They got some good pitching. I feel like they need one more bat. They've had some bats this year not step up for them. I think he would be perfect. You got Adam Frazier at DH right now. To me, I think Rooker would be a much better fit there. You'd have him for next season as well. Brent Rooker, he's not a free agent until after the 2027 season, so you are going to have some control there. So if you're the Royals, you have him for the next couple of seasons. If not them, we've seen the Philadelphia Phillies reportedly showing interest in him. You could put him out in left field. Brandon Marsh can go play some center field. Johan Rojas isn't giving you much offensively out there, but he could be maybe the fourth outfielder. I think Rooker could be a good fit. And then you got the Atlanta Braves. They lost Ronald Acuna Jr. earlier in the year. They've been rolling with an outfield with Jared Kelenic, Adam Duvall. They just recently brought back Eddie Rosario. You've got Forrest Wall there, but that could be an impact right-handed hitter that could definitely give this lineup a bit of a boost. This lineup has not been the same as it was last year. So yeah, I think Rooker could be a decent piece there. He has the control though, so would the Braves, want him on the payroll for the next couple of years, eventually when Ronald Acuna Jr. comes back. So I don't know, they'd have to figure it out when that time comes, but in the end, I think Rooker could be a good fit for all of these teams. Now, he is going to cost you a little something. Right now, the median value is at around $20 million. Remember, you got that control. He's not a free agent for a couple more years, and he's not really too expensive, and he's having a good season. So, Brent Rooker, I'm excited to see where he ends up landing. At number 3, I have Luis Robert. The one thing that's dogged Robert in his career is the injury bug, and this year he's already missed some time with a hip injury, but he's starting to come back into his own a little bit, starting to look like the player that we saw last year. Overall, the numbers look a little weird. He's hitting 224, on base at a 302. The slugging is looking good, though, at a 490, has a 117 WRC plus, 10 home runs, and like I said, starting to come into his own here. Over the last 15 games, he's hitting 273 with a 350 on base and a 509 slugging. So I think Luis Robert, he missed some time there. I think he just needed a few games to get himself going. And when he's healthy, he's an impact player. He's going to give you a great bat in the lineup and good defense out in center field. And along with that, he has control. He's on a team-friendly deal, a 6-year, $50 million deal that ends after the 2025 season. There are some club options there as well through 2027. So it's going to cost something to get Robert. Sure, that injury track record, has come back to bite him a little bit, but you're still going to have to give up something for him. The White Sox, they're going to want a lot here. As of right now, the median value on baseball trade values is $36.2 million. It could definitely get higher than that, especially if he keeps playing well. I think a great fit would be the Phillies. I just mentioned them for Brent Rooker. You could just put him out in center field, and then Johan Rojas would just become your fourth outfielder. Another team I would love to see would be the St. Louis Cardinals. I mentioned them earlier with Jazz Chisholm. I think this could be a good fit as well. Again, Michael Ciani, they've been going with him, but that would definitely be an upgrade there. Another team I would love, I've been dreaming about this one, would be the Pittsburgh Pirates. So, with the Pirates, like I said earlier in the video, they really need some offense here. And another popular landing spot has been the Seattle Mariners. We've all seen how that offense has been this year. They could definitely use a boost. If he's back to doing what he normally does, then yeah, he could definitely be an upgrade for the Mariners out here. No matter what team he goes to, though, it's going to cost a lot to get him. We'll have to see. I think he could end up staying with the White Sox in the end. Maybe they move him in the offseason. Maybe teams want to see if he's fully healthy. We'll see. But I think this would be amazing if he ends up getting moved. At number 2, I have Mason Miller. This guy has been absolutely disgusting this year. Take a look at these numbers. Through 31 games, he has a Fangraph wins above replacement at 1.6. He's on his way to posting one of the best seasons for a reliever of all time. He has been nasty this year. ERA at a 2.39, FIP at a 1.82, over 15 strikeouts per 9. Yeah, this guy would be a huge boost for any bullpen out there. And another thing with Mason Miller, I see people say this a lot. It's like, well, you're only trading for a reliever. Why should you give up so many prospects for a reliever? Well, first off, he still could end up being a starter down the road. The A's, they just wanted him to be a reliever this year, really build up those innings out of the bullpen, and then maybe they can go put him back in the rotation next year. But with Mason Miller, obviously these numbers are amazing, but you're getting a ton of control, and he's cheap. He's not a free agent until after the 2029 season, so that's 5 years of control, and this year he's only making $740,000. I mean, that is an absolute steal. So yeah, combine the performance, combine the years of control, combine the cheap salary, it's going to cost a lot to get Mason Miller. And on BTV as of right now, they're looking at around $56.5 million when it comes to the median value. So yeah, it's going to cost a lot. So to me, the best fits for Miller would be teams that are rich in prospects, especially near the top end. So, you know, a team for me, I mentioned the Phillies earlier with a couple of bats, but if you wanted to go for a checkmate move, really add one more piece to an already really good bullpen. And of course, you always got to, think of the Dodgers when it comes to prospects. They got a ton of them. This could be a great move for their bullpen, trying to chase a World Series this year. The Orioles, that's been a team that's mentioned. They got some pretty good high-end prospects there. I feel like they probably need more in the rotation, but if they wanted to go this route, hey, why not? Either way, Mason Miller, this would be almost a checkmate kind of a move. Do I think he ends up getting moved? I think there's a good chance he ends up staying because he's just going to be too expensive. We'll see, though. If he ends up getting moved, that would be an absolute blockbuster. And last but not least, at number 1, I have Garrett Crochet. What else is there to say here? Garrett Crochet is having an amazing season, a breakout season. Look at these numbers here. 19 starts, ERA at a 3.08, FIP at a 2.43, 12.5 strikeouts per 9, under 2 walks per 9, under a home run per 9. These numbers are absolutely disgusting. He definitely has a case to start the All-Star game this year. He has been filthy, and I do think the White Sox are going to end up moving him. If you asked me in the beginning of the year, I would have said, no way, they need to extend this guy. It looks like they tried to. They couldn't come to terms on an agreement, so they're just looking to move him now. But this is a guy that's going to be a huge piece for any team. Now, there are a bit of concerns about the innings, right? He's already thrown a career high in innings in the major leagues. He just had, Tommy John not too long ago. So what are the innings going to look like by the end of the year and in the playoffs? We'll see. Maybe he could end up going into a team's bullpen at the end of the year. Either way, though, this is a very talented pitcher for any team out there to add. And with Crochet, very similar to Miller, it's going to cost a lot. Now, he's not going to have as much control as Mason Miller. He's a free agent after 2026, so you have 2 more seasons of Garrett Crochet, but like Miller as well, he is also very cheap. He's only making $800,000 this year, so combine the performance, 2 years of control, very cheap. It's going to cost a lot. You're looking at around $62.5 million median value. Could it maybe go a little lower because of the innings there? We'll see. Either way, though, it's going to cost you an arm and a leg to acquire this guy. For me, I just mentioned them with Mason Miller. I think the Orioles are the perfect fit. I think they need something in this rotation. They've been having a lot of injuries this year. I think this would be an amazing get for the Orioles. I think you could offer either a Kobe Mayo or a Sammy Basayo. I see a lot of Orioles fans out there saying, no way we're giving those guys up. Listen, Orioles fans, you have a chance to win a World Series this year. I think giving up one of those guys is not going to sting that much because you're only going to have to give up probably one of them. I think you should absolutely make that move. And then you got him for the next couple of years too. I think it's a no-brainer for the Orioles to go get this done. Again, mention the Dodgers. They got prospects, but I mentioned earlier in the video, they've been having some durability issues. So maybe Garrett Crochet could be an option there. They have been linked to him in rumors. Another team that's been linked with him are the San Diego Padres. Preller is always aggressive. Maybe he can go get a deal done. We've seen the Yankees even connected with him. I do think he is going to get moved. It's going to be a blockbuster. I can't wait for it. But that's my list. Tell me what you think down below in the comments. Let me know, are there any other players you're thinking of that maybe I didn't include on this list? Let me know what you think down below in the comments. But everyone, that's all I got for right now. If you kind of the way out, hit that like button for me, subscribe if you're new, and I'll talk to you next time.